Hello, this is Carl Coburn, Weed Management TDR at the Gothenburg Water Utilization Learning Center. And I want to talk today about Harness Max herbicide for pre-emergence weed control in corn. Harness Max is a premix herbicide that contains acetochlor, which is the active ingredient in Harness herbicide, plus mesotrione. And Harness Max has a flexible application window ranging from pre-plant, pre-emergence, and post-emergence up to 11-inch corn. There are multiple premixes that are available that contain some combination of mesotrione with a group 15 herbicide, and these products typically have a range of use rates listed on the label. So the objective of this study was to compare weed control and corn yield from Harness Max herbicide as well as competitor herbicides applied pre-emergence across a range of these use rates listed. So this trial was conducted in Gothenburg, Nebraska in 2018 on a clay loam soil with just under 3% organic matter, a pH of 6.7. Last year's crop was soybean, and this is in conventional tillage. The corn was planted on May 1st with a 114-day product, 34,000 seeds per acre, and then herbicide applications were applied on May 2nd, so just a day after planting. The trial was arranged in a split plot design, and each treatment was replicated 3 times. So here's a list of the herbicide treatments. There's a column for treatment, herbicide name, active ingredient in the herbicide, and then the use rate per acre on the right. And this table is broken down into 3 different sections that spans the range of use rates listed on all of these product labels. So there's a high end of the use rate, a mid-range of the use rate, and then a low end of the use rate for each of these products. So each of these 5 treatments is done across 3 different rates. So the different herbicides we use are Harness Extra herbicide, Resicore herbicide, Acuron herbicide, Harness Max herbicide, and then Harness Max herbicide plus 1 pound of atrazine. And again, that's done at a high rate, a mid rate, and a low rate. Kochia was emerged at the time of planting, so the Kochia control assessments reflect both the foliar efficacy of the herbicide treatments in addition to the residual control of Kochia that emerged after planting and herbicide application. Palmer amaranth and Kochia pressure was extremely high at this site. Here you can see a picture of the density of the weeds there. A lot of Palmer amaranth, some Kochia, there's also some red root pigweed, and then some yellow foxtail. Getting into the results, no crop injury was observed from any of the herbicide treatments, and there weren't any significant differences in weed control between the herbicide treatments at the mid and the higher end of the use rates. So that's treatments 1 through 10. So the results I'll talk about focus on the lower end of the use rates. We did see numerical differences in weed control between the different treatments for all the species that we looked at, but the only significant differences that we could tease out were observed for Palmer amaranth control. So here's a figure of the results. This is looking at weed control 55 days after the treatment. And so this is percent weed control, and the different color bars are for different weed species. So the dark blue is Palmer amaranth, the green is Kochia, and then the light blue is for green foxtail. If you look on the right side of the figure, that's zooming in on Harness Max and then Harness Max plus 1 pound of atrazine. And really what you see is when you add that 1 pound of atrazine to Harness Max at 55 fluid ounces, that really rounds out the weed control, and we saw numerically the highest level of weed control using that treatment compared to any of the others. If you look at Palmer amaranth, this is where we could see statistical differences across different treatments. And so anywhere where you see a letter that's the same as the letter on another treatment, that means it's not statistically different. But if you see a letter that's completely different than a letter over a different treatment, that means that there were statistical differences. So basically when we're looking at Palmer amaranth, statistically the highest level of control we got was when we used Harness Max alone, Harness Max plus a pound of atrazine, or Acuron herbicide. And again, when we added a pound of atrazine to Harness Max at this 55 fluid ounce rate, that gave us numerically the highest control compared to any of the other treatments across all of the weed species. Looking at corn yield, we didn't see any significant differences in corn yield, but if you look on the right there, that's focused in on the lower end of the use rates listed there. And we did see a trend for numerically higher yield using Harness Extra, Harness Max or Harness Max plus atrazine. So overall, adding atrazine to Harness Max improved weed control, and this treatment gave us numerically the greatest level of weed control across all of the weed species compared to Harness Max herbicide alone, Acuron herbicide, Resicore herbicide, or Harness Extra herbicide. And looking at Harness Max, we did get statistically greater Palmer amaranth control and numerically greater kochia control compared to Resicore. And then again, there weren't any significant differences in corn yield. So what does this mean for your farm? At the lower end of the use rates assessed, Harness Max plus atrazine gave the greatest level of Palmer amaranth, kochia, and green foxtail control relative to competitive treatments. And then when we think about problematic weeds such as Palmer amaranth or kochia, we really need to think about incorporating multiple different strategies. And on the herbicide side of things, using a pre-emerge and a post-emerge herbicides that have both foliar and soil activity. Thanks for your time and have a great day.